Hey guys,
Hi, good morning.
how are you?
Good,
Good.
how are
Hi,
you?
Professor.
Doing well this morning.
That's good.
We're going
Oh,
to get
Okay.
started in a few. We'll start with the housekeeping and everything for
okay,
everybody.
just let me know when you're ready for me, and can I share my screen already, or
Oh, yeah, we're just going to do the housekeeping really quick, and then
okay,
go ahead and pass it on to you.
all right.
Yeah. Okay. So, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to Dr. Schlinger for being here. We just wanted to open it up with a little bit of housekeeping, go over some things that we would be expecting in the following weeks, and then we will pass it over to our guest speaker and Ani. Next slide, please. Sorry. Okay. So just to kind of point it out again, our one-time joining fee is $75 as always, or as it has been for a year. It's a lifetime membership. If you guys join, you will always have access to the benefits. It never expires. Your personal login accounts will be connected to your professional organization, which right now would be Cal State LA. But if you move forward in the future with other organizations, you will be able to connect with that chapter as well with the same membership. And all of this information will be sent to you through our headquarters. And that way you'd be able to log in, get the benefits, get the scholarships, and all that good stuff. Just to kind of briefly go over the requirements again, in case anybody new is joining us today or watching the recording later on, you would have to be majoring or minoring in psychology, and you would have had to complete it at least 3 semesters or equivalent of full-time college coursework. If you guys were also more interested in the exact details of these points, they would be listed on the PsyChi website, and we actually added a link at the bottom as well. But you would have had to complete 9 semester credit hours or equivalent of psychology courses, and they want a top 35 percentile GPA in your classes as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so the process of application is first you would have to check that you qualify, send your application in, and one of our advisors, our faculty advisors, is going to go through your application and confirm that everything looks okay. And we actually added the link for the application if you're interested, so you could easily click right there. And once it's approved, you would be able to give your $75 fee, and this can be through online platforms such as Zelle or Cash Apps and stuff like that, or you can do cash if you wanted to do in person. My email is also provided right there. My name is Kimia. I'm the treasurer, so you could go ahead and reach out to me if you had gotten to that point, and then we can schedule a pickup later to your certificates, which yes, they do offer a certificate, which is kind of cool. And then you get to enjoy the benefits, and they're listed over there. I don't want to make it redundant, so I'll just go ahead and move on to the next slide. And you can also stay connected with us. We do have an Instagram, that's the QR code. We're pretty active on there. We post regularly about all of our events and anything that we're going to be doing. We also share, some of our officers do a really good job of sharing a lot of information for students, a lot of resources, like we've had the Dreamers ones recently. We have a lot of different things. So it's good to stay connected if you guys felt like you wanted to. And also, if you wanted to watch any of the meeting recordings, since you missed it, we do have them all uploaded into our Teams. So you guys would be able to go ahead and join. And Microsoft Teams should be free. It comes with our organization email. So if you use your at calstatela.edu email, you would be able to just log in, and using the team code, you would be able to sign in, and under the files, all the recordings are there for you. Next slide, please. Okay, so what's coming up next? We're going to have another guest speaking meeting that's going to be on the following Friday, a week from now, on April 21st. And the guest speaker, is going to be Dr. Olagiz. Dr. Olagiz actually used to be a student here at Cal State LA, so she's had the full-on experience with the undergrad and the graduate program in the forensic psychology here. So she wanted to give some insight on how that whole process went for her, any advice that she has for students that may want to do the same thing. She got her PhD later on, and now she's back teaching at Cal State LA. So we would be able to do a Q&A as well. And we would love if you guys could join. So that's kind of all we had for today. I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Ani. And yeah, thank you.
All right, Professor, we're going to make you a host in just a moment if we haven't already done so you can share your screen.
Okay.
I believe I made you a co-host, Dr. Schlinger. I don't know if I need to make you an actual host for you to share the screen though.
It says, oh yeah, somebody else, whoever's sharing their screen needs to stop first.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that was me. Okay, let me do that.
Okay, I was talking, I was muted, so now I will share my screen again. And I'm assuming you guys can see my screen now, right? Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank Ani for inviting me to do this. And it's nice to see you, and Kat as well. They're both taking my Psych 4210 class. Very easy class, right? Yeah.
Yeah, your word.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm happy to be talking to Psych-Hi. I think you guys do a great job. So I want to talk today about the ABA specialization option. So I want to, let's see, I thought I had another slide here. Let me just start off with a little history. I was hired full-time in 2006. I was a full-time tenured professor at another institution before that. And when I was hired full-time, there was actually an ABA master's program at Cal State LA. ABA stands for Applied Behavior Analysis, for those of you who don't know. And I'll say a little bit about what that means. At the time that I was hired full-time in 2006, the ABA master's program had been on hold for a couple of years because the person who was directing that retired. There were still some master's students who hadn't finished their theses. So when I was hired, I helped them finish their theses, and I directed the program. And between 2007 and 2014, we graduated about 80 master's students. Let's say all of them except one finished the program, and many of them went on to get PhDs. Others of them are working, have not only have gone on to get their BCBA certification, which I'll talk about, and many of them are working in high-level supervisory positions at agencies and organizations, many of which that serve families of children with autism. But some of them are doing different things. And so I point that out because if any of you, or if you know anyone who wants to apply to and go through this program, there are a lot of opportunities once you graduate with your undergraduate degree. In fact, you can get a pretty decent paying job with an undergraduate degree if you go through this program and you take the exam and are certified. So the master's program was discontinued in 2014. I don't need to give you the dirty details about that, but just so you know that politics in universities are just as bad as politics anywhere else. Because one thing we know, humans are humans no matter where they are. So even though it seems like that academia and universities are this refuge and everybody's got PhDs and they're all, just great, upstanding people, it's, people are people. And you have a lot of good people, and then you got some people who, are political. So the program was discontinued in 2014. In 2015, I met with the CEO of Easter Seals of Southern California. Easter Seals is, I think, the largest and oldest, or maybe, close to the largest and oldest human service provider in the country. And up until about 20 years ago or so, they've been helping people with disabilities. And about 20 years or so ago, they started providing services to families of children with autism. And I just need to say right now that although there are, I suppose, probably dozens or several different kinds of treatments for autism, the only one that has any scientific evidence is applied behavior analysis. You'll hear about a lot of other treatments if you're in the field. There are a lot of quack treatments. Autism as a disorder has attracted, way more than its share of conspiracy theories and quack treatments and pseudoscience. And it's difficult for parents, especially, to wade through that because some of those quack treatments promise miracles. And anybody that promises a miracle, you should be wary of, because there are no miracles. Several years ago, the American Psychiatric Association, when they revised the DSM, they changed the definition of autism from just autism or autistic, whatever it was, to autism spectrum diagnosis. And once they did that, that opened the floodgates for people to be diagnosed with autism. So we went from a situation where there were 4 or 5 out of 10,000 people diagnosed with autism to 1 out of 36 or 40. That's a huge, huge change. And if you're diagnosed with autism now, you're eligible to receive services. And many of those services are applied behavior analysis. Those are oftentimes nowadays paid for by insurance companies. Previously, they were paid for, by regional centers and things like that. So there's a lot of money available. There are a lot of people who are eligible for services. And so there's a huge demand for services, which is one reason I think why a lot of people kind of, whenever there's a lot of money, people rush in to get it. Remember during the pandemic, when there was the pandemic, Biden passed the bill was that provided billions of dollars for pandemic relief. Well, there are a lot of people who scammed that, and they rushed in and they scammed millions and millions of dollars. And in the autism area, because there's so much money available, there are people who are rushing in to, claim to provide services. So that's kind of a background of the program. Anyway, so I met in 2015 with the CEO from Easter Seals and with the dean at the time of the Natural and Social Sciences and a couple of other people at Cal State. And I suggested that we start this program for undergrads. So I had just finished, 7 years as director of the master's program. And so now I was proposing that we do this for undergrads. And so that, the university was happy to do that as long as they didn't have to pay me anything, which is, that's another issue. So we've had this relationship with Easter Seals for the past 6 years. And we've had, I don't have a graph to show you in this PowerPoint, but I might be able to find one. I think since 2016, when it formally started, I think approximately 70 or so undergrads have gone through the program. And when you graduate, if you have taken the prerequisite courses, Easter Seals will give you the opportunity to apply for employment there. But it's not just Easter Seals. Any agency that provides services to kids with autism in Southern California will give you the opportunity to apply for a position there. And because you've taken these 6 courses at this university, you will jump to the top of the list in terms of people that they want to hire. I know many of these people, or they know me. They know what the program is, and so you will be highly valuable and highly marketable once you graduate. So let me just talk briefly about the program itself. Let me say at the outset, it's not a formal certificate program. There are some formal certificate programs in the university, but this is not a formal certificate program. We don't issue a certificate to you. The certificate, if you jump through the hoops, is issued by the behavior the board. Where is it? the Behavior Analysis Certification Board. They're the ones who issue the certificate after you graduate and do some other things. But what we do is we provide the coursework that you need in order to move on. So, So the ABA specialization provides undergraduate students in psychology the option to pursue a specialization in applied behavior analysis. It consists of 6 courses. These courses have to be approved by the BACB. And so every year we have to renew the course approval. And then once you take the 6 courses along with some other requirements. Now, the only other 2 requirements are after you graduate, or maybe even before you graduate, you can work at an agency and you can be supervised by someone with a BCBA. I'll talk about that in a minute. That would be someone who's certified at a level above what you would be. And if you accumulate a certain number of supervised clinical hours, then you're eligible to sit for the BCABA, Board Certified Assistant Behavior Analyst exam. If you pass the exam, then you're certified. And then you can command more money. You can get a raise if you're already working somewhere and likely be promoted. Also, the courses that are part of the program, they're not in addition to your undergraduate psych requirements. So, because all these courses are embedded within the different group areas, the undergraduate psych group areas. So you would just take these courses instead of another course in that particular area. So the 6 courses aren't additional to your requirements for your psych major. And they satisfy almost all the groups. So let's see. So here it says they're designed to prepare you not only to pass the BCABA exam, but once you get certified, then to be employed by one of many agencies, not only in California, but across the country. Okay, so I'll make this PowerPoint available to somebody, at maybe Ani or somebody else, whoever in Psychi, and then if anybody's interested, you can give them access to it, and that way they can check out some of these links. These 3 links talk about the Behavior Analysis Certification Board. This one talks about Easter Seals of Southern California. Here are the different levels of certification that the BACB, the Behavior Analysis Certification Board, offers. The lowest level is called an RBT. It's called a Registered Behavior Technician. You don't need a college degree for this. Some of you might already be, working at an agency. Some of you might have already gone through this training. It's a very quick training. I think it's just 40 hours or something, and then you take an exam. The BCABA, the Board Certified Assistant Behavior Analysis, requires an undergraduate college degree. So that would be the program that we have here that you would do at Cal State LA. Now, if you whether you get a BCABA or not, if you enjoy the area, which I certainly would hope you do because I do, and you're interested in getting a master's degree, then you would get a master's degree. You can apply for programs that offer a master's degree in applied behavior analysis. There's one at Cal State Northridge. There's one at Cal State Fresno. There might be one at Cal State Bakersfield, San Diego State, Cal State Sacramento. So there are quite a few in the Cal State area, but there are also dozens and dozens across the country. And then, of course, some people like myself have a BCABA, a BCBAD, which just means you're board certified at the doctoral level. And so if you go on to get a PhD, then you can be board certified there. Typically, people who are BCBADs, typically they are in high-level supervisory positions. They're clinical directors of agencies or organizations. Sometimes, like me, they are academicians. And usually when they're academicians, they run programs like clinical programs. Sometimes, programs for kids with autism or other kinds of things. But the BCABA is the one that we are offering. So here are the 6 courses. Now, ideally, these courses would be taken starting in your junior year. Ideally, you should make it like a 2-year program. But you know what? I've had students in the past who've taken all of these in their senior year. By the time they get to their senior year, they've already finished most of their other requirements and electives, and they have room. So they can take 3 courses in the fall and 3 courses in the spring, and they still have an extra slot for another course. And then I've had students who, for some reason, didn't do it either of those ways, where they could do all the courses, in the kind of order they should be. And they took some courses out of order. That's fine, with a couple of exceptions. And then I've had a few students who have graduated without being able to take one or two courses. They've had to come back and take those courses through Open University once they've graduated. But ideally, you would start in your junior year. So here are the courses. The first, and this is the only first in terms of numerical, 4170 single case research design. Ani and Kat and anybody else who's taken my 4210 class know that we talk a lot about within subject research design. So that's what single case means, within subject. This course satisfies group 5 with the other research design courses. Ideally, you would take it in your first fall semester. The other course that you would take in the fall semester is the 4280 Introduction to Analysis of Behavior. This is offered in the fall. Generally, these courses are taken together. They're a good pair to take together. This satisfies group 3. The 4210 class that Ani and Kat, and I don't know if anybody else is in that class here, but I don't see anybody that I recognize. That is a spring course, and that satisfies group 3 as well. This course is kind of an introduction to applied behavior analysis. This one is more of an introduction to the scientific basis, the experimental foundation of behavior analysis. 4400, also a spring class, satisfies group 1. This is behavior analysis and autism. And then 4770, ethics and supervision in applied behavior analytics settings. That's a group 2 class. And this one, we offered it this past fall, but sometimes we offer it in the spring. It just depends. This course is a new course because when we started the program, only 5 courses were required. But then they added this course because ethics is now a very important part of doing clinical work. And so that's why this course is offered. And by the way, if anybody, who's listening, you can take any of these courses without being a part of the program. I don't know, you'd have to talk to Ani and Kat separately without me present to see if they would recommend 4210. 4280 is a much easier class. Has anyone taken 4280? Have you taken that, Kat? No. Okay. 4280 is a great class. The book that we use is what we call a programmed instructional book. And so it consists of 25 chapters. They're called lessons, and they're very short. The reading part of each chapter is maybe 4 pages at most, unlike normal textbooks. And in those 4 pages, there are blanks that you fill in. So the books, I provide the books through a local printer. And so you write in your book. So you fill in the blanks as you read. And then after that, there are dozens and dozens of example questions that are fill in the blanks. So you have to go fill in all those blanks. At the end of the book, there are quizzes for each lesson. There are 3 quizzes for each of the 25 lessons. These are all posted. This whole course is online on Canvas. And so every time we do a lesson, you take a quiz. The quizzes are on Canvas. And so all 30 questions from all 3 quizzes are on Canvas. And so you take the quiz. Canvas randomly selects 10 of the 30 questions. And they're half point each. So it's a 5-point quiz. If you don't like your score, then you can retake it again. And so Canvas will randomly select another 10 questions. And if you don't like your score the second time, you have a third time when you can take it. And because you have access to all the quizzes in the back of the book, you know what all the quiz questions are going to be. So it's a really easy class to do well, as long as you are diligent and go through the book. So I would recommend this class whether you do the program or not. The other courses, I don't know, maybe behavior analysis and autism would be a good one to take. But Ani and Kat, you guys aren't in the program and you're taking this class. You can talk about it. So anyway, and then the last class is the field experience in psychology. I don't think that's the technical name for it. It's something like field experience in community and clinical psychology or something. That's a group 6 class. That's also taught. That's your last spring course that you take. This course is taught in conjunction with Easter Seals. And so it consists of a 2-hour course on Wednesdays. And they've been doing that online. I'm not sure they're still doing that. But when they didn't do it online, they did it at their Santa Fe Springs or their Pasadena location, so pretty close. And then 10 hours a week, you do what's called an overlap, which means you go into the home of a family of a child diagnosed with autism or some related disorder, and you see how applied behavior analysis is being used, and you get to observe the therapist and probably do some intervention yourself. And so I see Kat said, are all the courses taught by you? No, they're not all taught by me. That's a good question. I teach the 4280 and the 4210 class. The people who mostly teach the other classes, well, the 4170, the 4400, and the 4770, so far they have all been PhD level students who actually graduated from our ABA master's program and now have gone on to get PhDs. So they're all taught by PhD people who went through our ABA master's program, at least so far. That may change. So these are very rigorous courses. I mean, this one's an easy course, but you still have to put in the work. The reason I'm saying that is because you will get an outstanding education in applied behavior analysis with these 6 courses. I would put these 6 courses, the way we teach them, up against any BC ABA program anywhere. I think you will get just really a terrific, it'll be so good that if you decide to go into a master's ABA program, you will already be well prepared to succeed in a master's program if you take these courses and do well. So having said that, if you want to apply, or if you know somebody who wants to apply, just have them email me. I think my email's on the next slide. The GPA requirement is at least 2.75 in the last 60 semester units. I don't think I've ever had anyone who's had less than a 3.0, but 275 is the minimum. And then you can just send an email to me at that email address, and I will send you an application. I can also put in the chat, I'm going to stop sharing at this point in time. I can put in the chat, I'll tell you what I can do. I can do anything, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the chat. Hold on. I'm going to put a description. Would you guys like me to put the PowerPoint in the chat as well? Okay, I can do that. There's that. Wait a minute. Did that come in? Nope. Whoops. What is this? There we go. And I think I won't put the application in, so you can just, if anybody wants to apply, they can email me. I would encourage you. I don't know. I'm guessing most of you guys who are here alive right now are probably, seniors. I don't know. If you're a junior, then you still have time to apply and take the courses. But what I hope you do is spread the word to other people that you know who might be sophomores who could start this program in their junior year. So I'm open for questions. If anybody has any.
Hi,
Yeah.
Professor. I had just a quick comment. I
Sure.
remember I'm a transfer student and I saw your I saw this certification on Cal State LA's website, and I just wanted to let you know, when I called the school, they said that this is no longer happening.
Huh.
Yeah, that's why I didn't take any of the classes as well, because I couldn't, I think I started in spring, that's why too, so I didn't align.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let you know.
Who did you call? Do you know?
It was just some lady. I remember I talked to her for about 15 minutes, just asking about the program, and she was like, yeah, that's not happening anymore. So I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I'm really sorry about that. If you had called the psych department, they would have told you otherwise.
Yeah.
And I think, the advisement center, isn't there an advising center like in King Hall? Is that still there in the?
I believe so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're familiar with it. So yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know who you called, but that's a drag to have to call somebody and have them tell you that. I don't know who that was, but so thanks for telling me that though.
Yeah, of course. I just figured you should know that.
Yeah, yeah. Kat?
I'm wondering what if I'm already finishing up my undergraduates and been already accepted with a master program. Can I still take these courses as additional or elective?
Of course.
Great, awesome. Thank you.
I was gonna say, Professor, you did mention open college, and I wanted you to elaborate a little bit more on that.
Open University, yeah. Well, if you graduate and you want to come back and take any courses after you've graduated, you would do that through an office at the university called Open University. And so, of course, you have to pay, for your own courses. It's not like you're a student now and you can get financial help. But there are some agencies, and I think Easter Seals will do this. They will give you a little money to help you towards that. I think Easter Seals, I don't know if they still do this, but at least up to a few years ago, I think they gave like $400, $500 or something if students wanted to come back and take a course, to finish the course sequence. But there are other agencies that might help too if you're an employee at the agency. So that's something that anyone can check into if they're already employed at an agency, or if you graduate and you haven't been able to take all the courses and you get an employment offer from an agency, you can ask them if they're willing to help you defray the cost of taking the courses to finish up the option.
Those are all great options. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
I also did have a question because I did read one of your articles from 2017 on how ABA is not what it should be. And I was wanting to pick your brain on what do you think hasn't changed since you wrote that article in 2017? And what do you think still needs to be changed within ABA?
Can you tell me what article that was?
Yeah, I can.
Remember?
This one was the importance of analysis in applied behavioral science.
Okay. Yeah, if you read that article, wow, way to go. That's not an easy one. Well, the term applied behavior analysis, I don't think I mentioned this at the beginning, but applied behavior analysis is the applied branch of the science of behavior analysis. It's really not psychology. Kat and Ani, you kind of know, I've talked about that on and off throughout the semester, but it's often in psychology departments. And so the science itself is behavior analysis. The applied branch, where people go out and do clinical work, is called applied behavior analysis. There's an experimental branch called the experimental analysis of behavior. And that's just mostly the kind of stuff we're talking about in our class, although a lot more. And then there's a philosophical branch where, I've written several theoretical kind of articles expanding the principles to a whole variety of things like memory and consciousness and imagining and things like that are traditional psychology topics. But notice that the word analysis is in all those, okay? And what analysis means is that you take a behavior and you use a within subject design to try to identify the causes of the behavior. And we've done a lot of examples of that in 4210, right? So let's say you want to know, I'll give you an example. A friend of ours called me yesterday. She has a 7-year-old. She's having trouble with her 7-year-old. It's funny because when she started to tell me what he was doing, I finished the story for her. I told her what he was doing and what she was doing, because I've heard the story a million times. One of the things he's doing is he's saying things like, I hate myself. You don't love me anymore. I want to kill myself. Now, 7-year-olds don't know what that stuff means. I'm sorry, So the question is, and of course, now you both know how she reacts, right? She doesn't just walk away and ignore it. She says, no, we love you. And oh, you're good, you should feel good at, so she responds to all those things. And I told her exactly what she was doing, even before she told me, because I've seen this story before. So the question we might want to ask is, why does he say those things, right? Why do those behaviors occur? So in order to figure that out, what we would do is something called an analysis or a functional analysis. And so what we try to do is try to identify consequences that we think might be the reinforcing consequences, and then manipulate them in an ABAB design, for example. So we might say, okay, let's just do baseline. Let's see, we'll see how many times he says these things in a given day, and we'll look to see what you do, okay? But just keep doing the same thing. And then we'll say, after a week or so, we'll say, okay, now we're going to do the treatment condition. Now what we want you to do is don't pay attention to those anymore. Ignore the statements. Now you both know that when you do that, you're going to get an extinction burst, right? He's going to start saying more. They're going to be louder, and so at that point, you have to say to the mother, you have to say, "This is what's going to happen. Don't pay attention. Keep, as hard as it's going to be for you. Don't pay attention. Don't look at him. Don't ask him. Don't talk to him." Eventually, if those statements stop, if the behavior declines, well, then you have pretty good evidence that it's her attention that's reinforcing those statements. And that's the reason he does them. And if you wanted to, although I wouldn't recommend it in this case, you could go back to baseline and say, okay, he's going to make a statement occasionally, because once it's been learned, it'll never be completely unlearned. So the next time he does, pay attention to him again. And then if the statements start increasing, he says more stuff, I hate myself, you don't love me, whatever. Well, that's even better evidence that it's the attention. So that's doing an analysis, right? So you do that to find out what the cause of the behavior is. And once you do that, then you know what you need to change, right? You change how she reacts to him. And he's only 7, and he's already like hitting himself in the head and saying those kinds of things. And I told her, I said, and it's hard to get people to change. She's almost 40 years old. She's just not going to change overnight. It's so hard for parents not to pay attention to their kids when they say things that are alarming like that. And yet that very attention is what has taught him to say those things. But I'm going to try to see what I can do to help her to change how she is. We talked about differential reinforcement of alternative behavior in the class. Yesterday, when I talked to her, I was on Zoom with her, and I said, well, let's meet in person. But before we do, here's my suggestion. Try to notice anything he does that you like, no matter how small, and shower attention on him for that. So if you say, Danny, pick up the book, and he does so, a thing that parents would normally not think much about, I told her, say, Danny, that was great. You picked up the book just like I asked. I love you so much. That's so good, right? And find all the little things that he does that you like and shower him with attention. And I think that would be easier for her than ignoring or putting on extinction the other behaviors. But the more behaviors she can get him to do by paying attention, the fewer of the other behaviors will occur. So I don't know. So anyway, so that's the analysis part, right? Figure out what is causing the behavior, and then deal with that for any individual. So that's where the article that you read, Ani, is sort of encouraging people who are practitioners who are working in the field to make sure they analyze all aspects of what they're doing to know if it's working. Like you can say to someone, hey, reinforce that behavior. And so they're like, okay, they pay attention to it, or they give, allow their kid to have a privilege or something. And then, it's like, well, how'd that work? And the parents are like, well, I don't know. I think it worked okay. Well, you should know. And the way to know is take data, right? Do what I suggested before. Do a baseline, then do your intervention where you actually deliver what you think is the reinforcer, and see if the behavior changes. Because our subjective interpretation of things is not always the same as the objective facts. So anyway, I know that's kind of a long-winded answer to your question, but sorry about that.
No, I think that's great. I think that just coincides with what you were writing and about having more tools than just the one. So I did take a lot from your article, and thank you for elaborating on that and even giving an example of real life experiences that
Oh,
most
good.
parents do deal with on a day-to-day basis, especially in low income communities.
Yeah.
More parents are more affected, and I believe you did mention that in classes. If more parents were certified or graduated with a bachelor's in psychology, they would do better in parenting their children. And I strongly stand by that statement, Professor.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing your time.
And it's also, many students at Cal State LA come from underserved communities because of the location of Cal State LA. And so one nice thing about this program is that if those students go through the program, they can go out into their communities and help those kids who may not otherwise have access to that kind of help. So another good point that you made. And by the way, I'm flattered that you actually found an article of mine and read it. So.
I honestly didn't know what to expect, so I had to come prepared. So thank you.
Sure, of course. Anybody else have any comments or questions? My email address is on both the information sheet that I sent and on the PowerPoint. So if anybody has any questions after we sign off, feel free to email me. I usually answer my emails very quickly, unless you send me an email at 10 or 11 at night, in which case I won't answer it till the next morning. But other than that, I'm answer pretty quickly. So I'd be happy to give you any more information.
Awesome. So if there's any more questions, I'll close it up by stopping the recording.